saying that she is resigning. And I'm just quoting from the email. She said that she was, quote, subjected to personal attacks and threats fueled by racial animus. So no type of personal responsibility, no apology, but it's sort of water under the bridge at this point. Let this be a lesson to all those that are watching. Number one, don't mess with Jews. We're done with anti-Semitism. We're done with the crap. We're done with taking all of the hate and negativity and discrimination that we faced for hundreds of years, and certainly since October 7th. It's done. You come for us, we are going to strike back twice as hard.
If that's the best, and listen, I'm going to say this. If that's the best spokesperson that, if he represents Jewish people, don't mess with Jews. If he represents Jewish people, and I'd like to hear from the ADL on this guy, because that is horrible. I mean, it's horrible. It's abhorrent, despicable. Don't mess with, I mean, what in the world? And he's talking about a black woman, of all people. Of all people. I'm going to say this. The absolute witch hunt to destroy Claudine Gay, and make no mistake, it was a witch hunt, counts among the most in-your-face and undeniable moments of where most racist, Republicans also, and so-called conservatives desire to see this country move toward, or better yet, move centuries back. A black woman heading white America's most prestigious educational institutions. It is as repulsive as a black man, in their minds, desecrating the White House for 8 years and daring to put his name on the very health care that has saved many from total hardship and even from death, including most of their own. With Obamacare, we're reminded of a scene. I remember this scene well, and maybe you will too, from the Jeffersons, where George saves the life of a Klansman. And when the hateful, racist, his son thanks George, and the man then realizes that it was George, a black man, who performed the life-saving act, with cold and hateful eyes, that Klansman said, "You should have let me die." He'd rather die than have a black man save his life. While President Biden trails in most popular polls and continues to hope, wishing hope, that America comes to its senses with the MAGA crowd, it isn't Biden whose life and livelihood is on the line. If he loses the presidency, he's going to live out the rest of his life like a king, regardless. And those who pretend not to know the real meaning behind "Make America Great Again," well, it means that Claudine Gay must know her place. It means that George Floyd deserved a knee in his neck, though they just assumed use a noose. It means women have no say over anything, especially and including their own bodies. It means that affirmative action is the slave master grabbing the whip, taking action, if you will, when the African American is disobedient. And then there's this 2020 incident that has me raging. This happened in 2020, but I just learned of it. I just was reminded of it, I should say. And I am infuriated by it. But it helped to underscore all of this. And we're not talking about George Floyd. This video of a black woman handcuffed violently and made to ride in the back of a police car head first on the ground for more than 20 minutes is nothing less than infuriating. It becomes more abhorrent when, as she desperately begs for the racist cop to help her, she calls him master. She literally she got so desperate She said, "Master, please." This woman, Shatia Kelly, had to refer to this racist cop as master, and it still didn't work. You remember any slave movie you've watched when the master is relentlessly beating the slave, and the kids and the women and everyone else is crying out for mercy. That only added fuel to the racist master. And it's like this cop, the more she begged, the more he punished her. His name was Levi Huffine, Huffine. He was fired, but of course, he appealed his termination because, after all, Shatia was just a slave. Southbound 3000 says, not only sad, but here's where diversity plays a role. Well, it was struck down, so that won't work. What's next? Yeah, and I saw my girl Jamel uh, Hill talk about that, post things about that, and all of the haters came after her, the racist haters. But this is what it's all about. And if you don't know, then well, it's just keep on sleeping. It's like if you're not woke, then just keep on sleeping. And Power 96 says, obey your master. That comes from the plantation Christianity nonsense. I mean, that in itself, this is how they envision Claudine Gay. This is what Elise Stefanik wanted from Claudine Gay. And when she testified before Congress, she wanted her to kneel. She wanted her to beg. She wanted her to acquiesce to the master. And when Claudine Gay wouldn't, they came at her. This guy talking about personal accountability. Since when where's he had any accountability? Some privileged dude sitting at Harvard speaking about a woman he could, if intellect were a weapon, he'd be totally unarmed, particularly against her. This stuff is and it's so infuriating. And then when you talk about, and see, we represent the Black press every morning, and it's moments like these that let us know what a load we shoulder. Because if we don't talk about it like this, the New York Times is not going to do it. CNN is not going to do it. They'll bring you these stories. But they're not going to let you have your say in this. They're not going to. They don't have the ability to feel what we feel. It's impossible because they have all that privilege. And make no mistake, when we say that they're coming for us all, this is we talk about this and I've said athletes, celebrities, they are not role models. Don't let them raise your kids and stuff like that. And I stand by that. But make no mistake, I don't care if your name is Oprah or Tyler Perry. They coming for you too. If they have their way, you'll be sitting right next to us on the plantation, picking cotton or whatever they try to make us do. There's no doubt about it. And all this talk about, well, the community needs to come together. The community needs to come. We always hear that. Well, it's high noon. come armed. And I'm not talking about armed with weapons. It's high noon. What they did to Claudine Gay, it was from the moment they named her president, you knew that they were coming for her. This alleged plagiarism some 100 and something years ago. I mean, come on. They were coming for her. All of a sudden, because that disgusting Elise Stefanik, and I have harsher words than disgusting, decides, and then she tweets out, this is the part too that really sticks out. Elise Stefanik tweeted after Claudine Gay's resignation, 2 down, 1 to go. You have to be such a worm of a human being to do something like that, to gloat over the public humiliation of a woman who was doing her job. If you recall, when she went to what Elise Stefanik got mad at was Harvard's policy that she didn't set, that the board set. She was only regurgitating it. But that wasn't why she's upset. Elise Stefanik could care less about anti-Semitism and all that stuff. Believe me, she could care less. It's not affecting her. It's not affecting her. And that's the bottom line. It's just about getting this woman, this Black woman, out of one of their most prestigious, uppity, snobbish institutions. It is my hope, personally, that Claudine Gay winds up at an HBCU where she's appreciated, where she's needed, and where she will be embraced. Southbound 3000 says the master incident reminds me of the Levi jeans. If you look at the patch, you see 2 women with a whip and 2 horses trying to rip a pair of jeans apart like Black humans once were done. And that's it. For far too long, even up until now, we've allowed all of these imageries, these little things, like I mentioned at the top, the whole MAGA thing, we've allowed it. Do you think so they know, we all knew from day number 1 what MAGA meant. We knew that whole Make America Great Again. We knew what Make America Great Again meant to those who were saying it. Do you think that if someone would have come up with some sort of slogan about something against Jewish people, that it would have stood? Absolutely not. So this guy he's talking out of his neck. And of course on Fox News, so they go hunting for these folks who have no substance to them whatsoever. Mike V says the short-term move is Claudine goes to an HBCU. The long-term, the Biden administration makes her the head of the Department of Education. That's, yep. But as Power 96 says, now you're talking HBCU is home. The head of the Department of Education is fine. But here's the thing. What is wrong? It's my whole Deion Sanders argument. What is wrong with being with HBCU? And that's the other thing too, as Greer mentions, like Biden's not going to make her the department head. He's got too much to risk there because he supports the cause of Israel, and to hire someone who now they have branded anti-Semitic is not something that he would do. It's just not going to happen. But HBCU is, as Power 96 said, it's home. And there's nothing wrong with HBCUs. Biden, of course, is yeah, we haven't even heard a statement. Greer's right. We haven't even heard a statement from the White House on this. And you can't say, oh, it's none of their business. It's 100% their business. They've weighed in on other matters pertaining to these universities. And Mike V says, don't forget how Nicole Hannah-Jones was treated at UNC as well. And Nicole Hannah-Jones, where's she at? She went home, right? HBCU. And Austin says Claudine Gay would likely not get the votes in the Senate anyway, which is true. So this is and good morning to Memphis Jokes. Y'all gotta watch the Memphis Joke Show every Wednesday night. Memphis be doing his thing, and plus y'all gotta check him out when he's on stage. That dude is fire, nothing but fire. Good morning, Memphis. Check him out on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and all that. His show runs every Wednesday night. Check him out. We're gonna talk this morning also about Paula Abdul, in case you missed it, has sued an American Idol executive for sexual assault and harassment. And Nigel Lithgow is the guy, and we're going to discuss that this morning as he is hitting back. And his statement, we'll talk about that in a moment. His statement was very interesting, and I'll tell you why I found it to be interesting. Also, more evidence that a government shutdown will happen this time, January 19th, as Marjorie Taylor Greene went scorched earth on House Speaker Mike Johnson, whom she called terrible and hinted at another move to replace another GOP speaker. Isn't that something? And how about this? Carolina Panthers owner threw drinks on fans in anger, of course. But I mean, come on. We're going to talk about that this morning. And Jeffrey Epstein's list, everybody's holding their breath, holding their breath. The Epstein list is due to be released any moment, but we're getting snippets of it. And absolutely, Donald Trump is on there. They keep talking about Bill Clinton. And what they're saying about Bill Clinton is that he is like John Doe number 6. The names are not redacted except the victims. So until the judge officially releases the list, I'm not going to say Clinton is on there as much. He's definitely going to be on there because he's no doubt he's taken a flight on Epstein's private plane. But Donald Trump's name has surfaced a number of times, including not just Donald, but his family members as well, has flown on the jet to old Epstein Island. And there were other people on that aircraft when they had flown, including what appears to be, now we don't know, we'll find out later, what appears to be minors who are not related. So we will talk about that this morning. And y'all know how successful and sometimes controversial Usher's Las Vegas residency has been. Controversy only in the sense that y'all remember, Darius Jackson, you a mom though, talking about the lovely Keke Palmer when she appeared there with Usher at his residency. Well, I mentioned that only because a number of other residencies are happening in 2024 in Vegas, including Jodesi, T-Pain, Wu-Tang Clan, Wu-Tang Clan, and of course, New Edition. They all gonna be getting down in Vegas at that residency. Listen, you can't blame them. From what I understand, uh, it's a big deal in the bank account. So, hey, ain't hating on them. Ain't hating on them at all. Power 96 says Deion Sanders and now Willie Simmons have shucked and jived to Mr. Charlie's Lily White schools. I see a trend now at Black HBCU coaches. Grass is always greener. It's always greener. But this is what I talked about at the top. They better wake up too. It's not just us everyday folks that need to wake up. They got a lot more to lose than we do. A whole lot more to lose than we do. And see, the problem with a lot of those folks, they think they're in the club. They think they, invincible, untouchable. They got big names and big bank accounts. Wake up. You look just like me. You're not untouchable. Your skin color is like mine. And you hate to just say it like that it's a black and white. That's what they and not all white folks, of course, want this. But they're not going to suffer for like we're going to suffer if they have their way, if these folks have their way. Let's talk about Paula Abdul. Nigel Lithgow is denying her allegations that he sexually assaulted her, which she had made in a recent lawsuit filed against him. Now, we talked so much about last month about New York's look back law window that expired in November. California had one that expired December 31st, and Paula filed her suit on December 31st. So she was like, I got to get mine in. But the TV executive who worked with Paula as an executive producer, I should say, on that show and co-judge of So You Think You Can Dance, a show that Nigel co-created. He issued a statement that responded to Paula Abdul. He says this, and his statement I thought was interesting. This is what he said, and I'll tell you why I think it's interesting. To say that I am shocked and saddened by the allegations made against me by Paula Abdul is a wild understatement. He said it's a wild understatement. For more than 2 decades, Paula and I have interacted as dear and entirely platonic friends and colleagues. Yesterday, however, out of the blue, I learned of these claims in the media. And I want to be clear. Not only are they false, they are deeply offensive to me and to everything I stand for. He says, I can't pretend to understand exactly why she would file a lawsuit that she must know is untrue, but I can promise that I will fight this appalling smear with everything I have. So generally, and I'm not saying one way or the other who's right and who's wrong. But, and I'm certainly not taking his side. But here's the thing. This is what you rarely see. This is what when you're fans of somebody, I look, y'all hear me all the time. Sounds like a dead horse. I talk about Michael Jackson. This is what you want. If you're a fan of someone, this is the type of, if you're a relative of someone, this is the type of statement that you want. Oftentimes we just get simple denials. Oftentimes we'll see you in court or something like that. And then of course they wind up settling, which is a whole nother story to me. But they wind up settling. But here, Nigel Lithgow, he says that he was both shocked and saddened, right? But he talked about them being dear, and he used the phrase entirely platonic to make it clear that never was there any lines blurred, Never were there any lines crossed. And then, like he says, out of the blue, he learned of these claims. Then he goes on. Also, he talked about Paula is known for her erratic behavior. Now, Nigel's 74 years old now. Paula is 61, but he talks about her being known for her erratic behavior. Now, is that a cheap shot? So some said it's a cheap shot. Here's what I say. When you back into a corner, you're going to come out with everything you got. And he obviously feels backed into a corner. Now, she alleges that he groped and kissed her without her consent in a hotel elevator while the two were on the road for one of American Idol's regional auditions. Power 96 says all that means is that he has a publicist who can write well. See, you can look at it like that too. But I have not seen any other publicists. Maybe this publicist, Power 96, maybe this publicist has got enough training with all the other seeing all the other accusations come up and having to put out statements, seeing his or her colleagues put out statements, and probably he or her, I don't know if the publicist is a male or female, but said, listen, I'm gonna do this right. I don't know. And so the argument will become, so Paula went to work for him again. And so you think you can dance. And I know there's some thoughts behind that. Now, Dr. Nicole says, agreed. A well-written statement does not mean that he is innocent. It may always be his word against hers, and we'll never know. Well, so my measuring stick will be this. This thing just gets settled and it goes away. To come out with a forceful statement like that means that you have to take this all the way to court. And I don't want to hear about, well, and this is what we've heard from some celebrities and other people who've been sued. Well, in a civil case, you don't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a preponderance of the evidence. It should be no evidence that you sexually assaulted someone. It should be none whatsoever. And this is why I mentioned Michael Jackson going back there, paying all these hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't care when you're accused of such heinous act as rape or sexual assault or child molestation. You can't, if you are not into those things, have not done those things, you cannot say, my, for the sake of my career and moving on with my career and my business and whatever, I just decided they want money, I paid them. There are other things people can say about you, and I can see you settling this just to get it. It's like a bug. You want to get it away from you. But stuff like that, it's, to me, you just can't settle. You can't. You have to fight that. You have to let people know beyond any doubt that you're not that type of individual. So Nigel Lithgow's statement suggests that he's not that type of individual, particularly or more to the point, he's never been that with Paula. So now he's put himself, just on that statement alone, has put himself in a position where he now has to see it through. Otherwise, he's guilty. He pays Paula to make it go away. He's guilty. That's how I view it. And that's just it. So expect the government shutdown if you're listening to Marjorie Taylor Greene at all. Here's what she had to say, which was really interesting too. I am not the Republican team player, she said. I've never been. And she probably is right about that. She's a Trump team player. Whatever Trump desires or whatever she thinks Trump desires is what she will bend to. But in her interview with The Hill, she absolutely destroyed Mike Johnson, the House Speaker. She called him terrible. She says he went from having a voting record to literally a month later going against his own voting record and being Speaker of the House. She says literally all of a sudden talking about doing things that he had literally voted. She used literally a lot. Things that he had literally voted against only a month before that. And that was unacceptable to me, and it still is. And specifically, she trashed him for putting forth a continuing resolution to fund the government after previously voting against it. That was to keep the government open on another potential shutdown back in November. And she says that was the whole reason why Kevin McCarthy got ousted. He was working with Democrats and passing a clean CR, continuing resolution. And for me, I was like, what a hypocrisy. It's a pot calling the kettle. It's like grits calling rice white. So it's but hear what she said again. McCarthy got booted because he was working with Democrats. Isn't that his job? Isn't that his job? No. See, again, we talked at the top of the show. That is not the goal here. They got a couple of Sambos working for them, and Clarence Thomas and those other guys who pretend to who were born this color. But come on. Austin says illiterate people love to use the word literally. Power 96 is concerned about his retirement check and his disability check. He says it will be some furniture moving at Marjorie Taylor Greene's house if you don't get this. But it's when you see it, and this the hard part is, and she says the honeymoon is over for Mike Johnson. But the hard part for me is this. I have to report on this garbage, this trash. And it's like, come on. Y'all can't see this? Are people really that blind? I guess they are. People, when people are blind, scripturally they're blind, politically they're blind. When it comes to celebrities, they're blind. But to actually see it firsthand, I mean, we go up to Capitol Hill, we go to the White House, we go to places, and to see it and to hear stuff that comes out of their mouth, and the constituents see it, and yet they follow like these people are like rock stars, and they are salivating over the next album that's coming out or the next concert. It's unreal. How can you? I don't care who you are, unless you look. Even if she gave birth to you, I don't see how you can support Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't see how you can support a Mike Johnson. How can you support a Lauren Boebert, who, by the way, decided to change districts so that she can have a better chance of winning re-election? Of course she changed districts, because everybody will remember in her district her fondling some guy in the theater watching Beetlejuice and the guy following her. That's not going away, Lauren Boebert. I mean, smoking. What was in the cigarette? Smoking and fondling. But this is a precursor this Marjorie Taylor Greene stuff with Mike Johnson is a precursor to just a couple of weeks, January 19th, another date, another deadline for government shutdown. Yesterday, we talked a lot about sports. Well, we talked mostly about sports. We do some hip hop stuff too, but that was just incidental. But today, life in the NFC South in the NFL can be frustrating. It can be a challenge, even for billionaire owners. Atlanta Falcons owner Arthur Blank certainly knows the drill. His team's opportunity to make the playoffs for the first time since 2017 is slipping away, or has slipped away. But it's one thing for it to slip. It's another thing for it to be thrown or tossed or whatever at a fan, which is presently the problem the NFL has with Carolina Panthers owner David Tepper. He's already a controversial guy anyway among critics of the Panthers, who have a 2-14 record. He should be throwing drinks at his coaches. And now he's probably, well, at least he should be facing some sort of discipline from the NFL. He disgusted by yet another loss. He tosses his drink at fans. Now he's in the owner's box, and the fan right below. And one of the fans, if you watch the video of this, one of the fans was climbing up there. He's like, "Hey, owner or not," he was ready to do some business. But tosses a drink. They lost 26-0. At what point did you decide that this was too much for you before it got 26-0? He should have just left, or pulled the George Steinbrenner. George Steinbrenner, the late Yankee owner, he'd have been in the clubhouse waiting for the team and the manager to come in from that loss, and he would have laid into them. But Tepper decides he was going to throw his drink on fans, the very fans who pay these high ticket prices so he could help pay his players. Power 96 says his offer still stands. He's offering $5, a po' boy, and a bowl of gumbo to move the Saints, the Pelicans, and Gail Benson out of New Orleans. And Southbound 3000, you sound like Greer. He says, Southbound 3000 said, white privilege is all that's needed to be said in this. And that's and I forgot who wrote this, so forgive me, but as somebody wrote, angry players aren't allowed to throw things at fans, so it stands to reason that angry owners be held to the same standard. Brian McCarthy, who speaks, and there's the video. And look, he tosses it, and if it keeps you up, look at this fan right there. He's like, look, owner or not. And the black guy, I assume, is part of the hierarchy there, and that's in front there. But look, owner or not, that fan right there, number 7. He's like, listen, owner or not. And yes, it is assault. It's assault. NFL spokesman Brian McCarthy said that the league is aware of the incident, but they have no comment at this time. Yeah. Magic Johnson, part owner of the Washington Commanders. I'd like to see the response, the immediate response, if he tosses a drink onto fans. I'd like to see that. Absolutely would love to see that. I don't think that the NFL would be saying we have no comment at this time. I really don't. I doubt it. And NFL, of course, is a league that is just about all of his owners are in bed with the MAGA crowd. Angela Connolly said nobody flinched, that they are all used to his temperature. Yeah, those in the box with him, they're used to his temper tantrums, which is a shame. And that's another conversation, right, Angela? The enablers of celebrities and wealthy people, the yes people. I mean, look in the mirror, get yourself a real life. If you can't speak up, then you're useless. Go do something else. I don't care what they're paying you. It's just ridiculous. I need freeness of speech. I need that. Speaking of freeness of speech, everybody's quiet on the Epstein front. They are bracing themselves as the list, the official list, because these other lists. Lauren Burke sent me something yesterday, in fact, that appears to be the flight logs of Jeffrey Epstein. But and it's unofficial. But in that flight log, which is now being reported in other outlets, Donald Trump is mentioned. They talk about Clinton. I keep seeing these headlines about Clinton, and I'm like, okay. And so it's 118 pages that she sent, and I'm looking through these 118 pages. I'm scanning through on my phone because that's how she sent it, and I'm scanning through, and where is Clinton? And somebody said, the report said Jane Doe, John Doe, and I don't see John Doe on there either. And no, it's not about being surprised, Angela Connolly, about who's on the list, because what will be surprising is who's not on the list. I saw Mitch McConnell's name on that flight log, but I saw Donald Trump's name a number of times on that flight log. Now, they say a lot of names were redacted. The logs that I saw, is only a few names redacted that appeared to be the victims. Of course, Jeffrey Epstein hung himself in 2019 in a jail cell. We know about Prince Andrew, and we know about folks like him and that lawyer Dershowitz, Alan Dershowitz, and of course Epstein, and apparently he has a brother, Mark Epstein, who's on there a lot. And how about Aaron Rodgers saying he's an idiot anyway. I mean, the Jets are paying him all that money just because, but he's a MAGA loving idiot anyway. He tried to throw Jimmy Kimmel under the bus, trying to say that Jimmy Kimmel was on the list. It's such a reckless thing. Jimmy Kimmel said he's going to sue him. Austin says Epstein hung himself with assistance. Finance says not freeze frame Mitch. Now I see why he doing the freezing routine. Yeah, David Youngblood is right. Kimmel is about to get paid because publicly and continually saying, and Kimmel's never met Epstein at all. Never been on his plane, never been to the pedophile island. But having said that, that's what should surprise. What would be surprising? Well, I think what we'll find surprising is not who's on the list, but who's not on the list. That might be more surprising. But I keep seeing flooding the Twitter or X timeline, and is all this stuff about Clinton, 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 and from all of these Trump folks. And once again, I mean, glass house meet stones. They keep railing on, and look, the best comeback that I've seen is somebody posted a meme of Joe Biden, and they list Clinton, they list Trump, they list other politicians, and and it said anybody on the list is not worthy. It should not be considered for the presidency. And the meme of Biden, I'm not on the list. Biden. Oh gosh. So we're expecting any moment now. We've been expecting any moment since yesterday. So it's the list will be delivered. I'm sure if the list is officially released today, we'll talk a little bit about it tomorrow. Turning to the world of entertainment, Las Vegas will be full of electrifying performances in the new year as a lineup of iconic artists and rising stars set the stage for an unforgettable residency season. We saw Usher and folks building on that. Usher's monumental run, the entertainment capital of the world, will host a series of residencies in 2024, including Jodeci. Jodeci is they coming. Also, Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang is actually starting February 9th. They will take over Vegas. They only list right now a couple of shows, but they have said that they're gonna have a full residency run. They expect to release more dates really soon. Jodeci's dates include March 15th, 16th, 20th, 23rd, 24th, and July 5th, 6th, 10th, 12th, and 13th. And they also expected to add more date. They will be at the Mandalay Bay Resort at the House of Blues. T-Pain will begin in February, and he'll have shows in April, May, and July. He's spreading his out. Those residencies are tough for these artists, and T-Pain said, I'm going to spread mine out. New Edition starts February 28th. They'll be celebrating 40 years. 40 years in 2024. Remember the Candy Girl? If it isn't love, can you stand the rain? Lionel Richie's also joining the pack. He's starting the residency or extending his residency into 2024. He's going to return to the Encore Theater. So that should be cool. And Bruno Mars, he's on the last leg of his residency, and he's going to have some shows through February. So Vegas is going to have all these big name acts. It was a point where, the residencies were like, Mr. Vegas himself, not Tom Jones, but the other guy, Wayne Newton. Tom Jones, I mentioned. Sammy Davis Jr. In the Rat Pack with Frank Sinatra. They had a resident. In fact, they have a show in Vegas in which they just like they have the Elvis impersonators. They have a whole show of the Rat Pack, and they have someone standing in for each of Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and Frank Sinatra. Of course, Elvis, famous residency in Vegas. So Vegas is where folks go for these residencies now. Celine Dion, of course, poor Celine Dion, crippling disease that she has been fighting for the past several years. But she had one of the more iconic residencies in Vegas Prince, of course, had a great Las Vegas residency back in 2008. The Daniela Pierre says the NAACP convention will be there in July. So she is wondering if there's any residencies in Vegas in July. Yeah, there's going to be several. As we mentioned, Jodesi is going to have some dates. New Edition is expected to extend out their run throughout the year there in Las Vegas. So there'll be some, whether it's those acts or others, there will be some. So it's a thing. It's a thing to have a residency in Vegas. It's certainly a thing for the bank account, that's for sure. Southbound 3000 says it sounds like the Universal Soul Circus. And Power 96 says I still know the dance moves from New Edition. Well, you need to go and help Bobby Brown with the moves. Bobby say he do a couple, and he's like, "Look, y'all got it. I'm tired." Bobby is like he's like the king of R&B. So he's like, "Listen, I don't need to do all that. Just give me the paycheck. I'll sing a little bit to y'all." He'll let his boys do the rest. Bobby Brown, has he earned it or what? Bobby Brown is. I've never been a big Bobby Brown fan, but you got to give him his props. He has earned his spot in music history, and it can't be taken away from him. And Power 96 said, "Watch out! Don't hate on my good friend Bobby Brown." Yeah, you can't hate on Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown did his thing. He did his thing. He left his. He's going to leave quite a mark when he stops making music. So good for Bobby Brown. Good for New Edition. I just, like many of you guys, remember when they came out with Candy Girl and stuff. I know Aunt Pam, I think she's watching. That used to be her theme song. We made that her theme song, Candy Girl. Because that was the song. And every time it came on, it got everybody up doing the moves. Power 96. Everybody was up doing the moves. Well, hey, I don't know. Concerts that I want to see in 2024. I just don't know yet. I don't know yet. I have to figure that out. I have to figure it out if there's any that I want to see. I know my wife always wants to see like Boys to Men and stuff. I took her to see Boys to Men already. So I've done my job. Yep. Aunt Pam said that was her nickname. Absolutely it was. Absolutely it was. In fact, I think, Aunt Pam, that it was even before the song that your nickname was Candy Girl. So New Edition owes you some royalties. That's what let's go after them. Power 96, call Bobby up and tell him he needs to send my Aunt Pam some royalties for Candy Girl. It's enough. We're not playing anymore. Listen, we will have more on the list tomorrow. We'll have a lot more tomorrow. But keep in mind what we talked about in the beginning. They're coming for all of us. They're coming for all of us. Power 96 says he's on it. All right. Aunt Pam now knows that you're on it. So we want some results. Thanks for watching. Let it be known. We'll see you tomorrow.